So it's a very conservative projection at this point in time. Though we started our conversation today with, I go, when you look at all the development they want to put around Janesville, where are all these people going to be coming from? But people have been saying that since the 60s, and things keep growing.
Now, have they taken into consideration, though, that the building permits that will be issued in the city and in the townships have been set at a limit?
Yes.
So how many houses can be built? And that's been taken into consideration also?
I think the jury is still out on how that will all unfold, but that's how it is right now. I mean, that was taken into account. And again, we talked about that at the beginning. Will that limit on building permits, if it is able, if they can enforce it, will that allow us to kind of recycle the population? So people whose kids graduate from high school but stay in their homes, will that create just enough new homes to keep the population fairly steady? And the applied population study does reflect that happening. Richard?
So, I'm clear on this now, that the actual kindergarten regression rate is actually flat.
Yes.
It's not based on parents on our new areas in the west side having children. It's based on families coming to Evansville, buying the new homes that we have available or will be available. So,
I don't think that's what the kindergarten regression formula is. I
well,
think the kindergarten regression formula is more related to birth rates.
Well, birth rates. So you're not seeing the increase in demand here caused by birth rate. You're looking at the 2-year and the 5-year plots based on the 2-year and 5-year growth. The last in Evansville.
Right. We picked the 5-year one because kindergarten regression is based on birth rates being in this community, and we've had in-migration, so we've dismissed that one. The 2-year is too aggressive, we think, and the 5-year seems to be more consistent with what our long-term growth has been.
And then, of course, the 6-month building permit, which we plunging, we haven't extended that into the formula.
No. Well, again, when they developed this survey, they knew what the limitations were on building permits. The other thing that I've seen now, particularly coming from Verona, where there was a lot of growth, is that when you by the time a subdivision gets platted, to the roads put in, to houses being constructed, to school-age kids reaching the school, it's anywhere from a 3 to 5 year lag. And I think what we're seeing right now is that there was a pretty strong moratorium on new developments during the smart growth process, which the municipalities are just in the process of finishing up. So that's one piece of it, and certainly the change right now in the housing economy across the country is another impact. But I think those two are compounding at this point in time. I'm concerned that when the biodiesel plant comes in, that there's going to be a whole set of pressures for growth that we've not yet seen in residential.
The second question was, I'm pleased to hear that the Theodore Robinson is in very sound condition, because reading page 4 to page 10, where the roofs were calculated to be over half the roofs that need replacement, I assume that section of the report will be significantly rewritten, because all the weakest sector of the existing plant, according to your draft study presented last time, was in that Theodore Robinson. So I'm getting mixed signals here. I mean, we're talking about the same building here. Just go to page 4 of the report and go right down to the bottom. It talks about the fact that about a third of the roof has a 0 to 1 year lifespan expectancy, and then another 30% has a 1 to 3 year expectancy. Now, I understand that Joe Francis has told me this is based on roof warranties, but a reasonable person would wonder, what is the status of these roofs? The budgeted amount for the district next year is $100,000, $75,000 is one roof. The question immediately is, how much more roof do we need and how fast? Because that report sends a little alarm to the community about the current status of this, and doesn't jive with what you just said right here. Maybe you can
I don't want to take very much time.
No, I understand.
Richard, because we're on a timeline today where I have to be out here at 6. So
we were talking about mechanically. That was the conversation we had before you all walked in was mechanical. It was primarily a mechanical discussion, and I think Joe certainly is right to talk about the roof warranty as being engaged. It's really hard to tell. We did a roofing analysis for one of our clients recently in terms of what some of the warranties are and life expectancies and what have you. And it's extremely hard to tell, you know, it just depends on the type of roof and the type of conditions and the detailing. And you'll see numbers that run the gamut. For instance, on average, according to some independent sources that I researched online for some of the EPDM, the rubber roofs that had 15-year warranties were tracking up to 23 years for a 45 mil fully ballasted EPDM. So it's interesting because the warranty says 15, but in reality it runs 23. And I think that maybe it's just a matter of putting a cautionary note in here to say, just like everything else we're doing at this juncture, that these are just ranges of values. I think Joe's just raising the red flag that that's what the warranty says. Will it last beyond that? Certainly we hope so. But is there any assurance? There isn't any, and that's the problem. And so he has to be in a mode to have a contingency to be able to.
All right.
For me then?
Huh?
Do you want to-
All right, let's move on to the, Port and Buildings and Grounds managers. Hopefully Joe, you can move through this pretty quickly, because we've gone over most of these before, so,
I figure I could be done here by about 7.
I figured that'd be okay. Crazy society is what you say.
Well, and I apologize, but you know, when we moved the start times from 4 to 4:30, I've got a Black Hawk County
Sure,
board meeting
sure.
tonight, so.
No, we've actually gone over most of these things before, so it should be.
All right, I'll take a deep breath and run with it, how's that?
Excellent.
All right. Well, basically, it is gonna be pretty quick. With the roof bids on that, the roof in question for the Levi Leonard Elementary, that is the half of the is that 76 edition? Okay. My last bid actually came in lower than another low bid, so we're going in the right direction. So what it initially started out with a $70,000 initial estimate, we're now down to $45,000 with a 15-year roof warranty on that. So
Super.
and no downtime for the school. We're put on in a holding pattern right now because the last 2-3 weeks of below zero weather, they haven't been doing any roofing, and I really don't want them tearing parts of my roof off when it's 20 below zero. But so we're coming in almost 30,000 under what the initial estimate was.
That's terrific.
To go kind of along with everything, just for energy savings, thinking of ways that we can save energy through the schools, for the buildings and grounds. Everything right now, not including the high school, but the Levi Leonard, Theodore Robinson, Jason McKenna, is run off of pneumatics. So you see the thermostat on the wall, and that's got a little 1/4-inch copper line that runs from there to there from a compressor, and that runs up to actuators, air handlers. It's all run by air. You have some control over it, but you're talking airflows. So you have some degree of a differential, plus or minus 2 degrees either way. And you're constantly having to reset them. So I got bids to change to DDC, just in the elementary and intermediate. We're still looking at the middle school.
Tell me DDC.
Okay. DDC is basically, it's all
What
control.
does DDC stand for?
You can ask that because now I don't remember what DDC stands for, so.
Digital something, right?
It's digital something controls, and what it is, the high school is all operated DDC, and that's off a computer in my office. So I can change set points with just a click of the button, and it's all monitored that way. So there's no compressors, there's no air. It's all basic. It's a sensor in the classroom, and it just reads 24/7. And I can change. I can do scheduling. I can have heat pumps start up, have them shut down. We don't have a dollar figure, but we know that I've staged the start times of the heat pumps and air handlers at the high school through my controls, and we brought the electricity, our usage down in the high school just by changing our start times, staggering. Instead of having them all come on at once, they all come on at different times, and some come on. I can have some come on for a basketball game. I can set it to come on for that, because you have to have it running for your occupancies. My other one, waterless urinals,
Well, before you leave
Okay,
that, why don't
sorry.
you explain right quick how that affects our demand?
got much more range of making sure everything runs smooth.
And the old pneumatic systems are high maintenance items, they're troublesome and high maintenance.
Well, we've got, yeah, they are, I mean, you got moving parts and it's all compressed air, and you get one pinhole leak and it can change your actuators from opening and closing when they're supposed to not opening and closing, and then trying to trace that back. And the middle school, a lot of those lines, in here they're a plastic line, so it's not quite so bad. Middle school is 1/4-inch copper tubing, and a lot of them go right through the concrete walls and through the concrete plaster, and they travel for quite some distance, and you can't get to them, they're inside, so. Any other questions on that? That bid, by the way, came in about $79,000. I do not have an estimate as to what the payback would be on that one yet, but I'm working on that.
Okay.
Can I talk about my exciting one now? Waterless urinals. Everybody laughs about when you bring up waterless urinals, they kind of chuckle because it is kind of funny. But when I did some investigating on waterless urinals and how much water a urinal actually uses, and we're going through just my figuring, and it's plus or minus maybe 1,000 or 10,000 gallons, but roughly 2 million gallons of water a year just for our urinals, okay? And I figured, what did oh man, I don't have my notes. This is one note I missed.
It was tanker trucks full of.
No, what I'm thinking the price that we pay for the water and the sewer, I had that figured out, that's about $37,000 a year. Is that right? Oh man, I wish I have all my notes, but I don't have that note. I just remembered I forgot to bring that one.
I'll get
That's
it in the
okay.
minutes and you can check it
that's
for me.
Okay, because it is substantial, because it was, and maybe when we go into the parking lot, I can try and find it.
So what do you propose to do?
For 40, I got bids to do all of we can do some or we can do all. We're gonna be doing some waterless urinals and intermediate this year because we have some plumbing issues that we have to address. And I got a per unit price for the urinals, but to do all of them, you're looking at about $40,000. $7,000 a year, I think that's what it was, 7,000, because I figured we had about a 6 to 8 year payback for the waterless urinals. Picture 3 tanker trucks of like Mike's trucks at his farm. That's what one urinal uses a year in water. So there's an actual payback on those.
And those are no other downsides in terms of upkeep or vandalism or?
No more, actually less vandalism than you have on a urinal now.
Well, I'm just asking,
Yep.
as a principal, that's where I'm.
A waterless urinal, if you picture a wall-hung urinal, the newer ones like at the high school, you take that off, that's what the waterless one looks like.
Okay,
Put it under, the only thing it doesn't have a flush valve on it.
okay.
And that seems to be the thing they karate kick.
So we're gonna plan to change out a few of those, see how they work out.
Yep.
That's the plan,
Makes
because some of
sense.
those you have to replace anyway,
Right.
so it makes sense.
Yep.
Good job.
$9,000 a year?
How much?
Well, you had this email, it said 9,000?
9,000, okay. There we go, 9,000.
Okay.
A stack of my notes are, I just, something I forgot. The Rose Bowl, by the way, where they play the football game, and I know you're out of a hurry, I got it, you just kind of give me something.
Oh,
I know. They took all the urinals up, put waterless in, 186,000 gallons just for the Rose Bowl game.
The Big Ten still can't win, I don't know. Okay.
Well, I wasn't gonna go there.
I know, so, okay.
And then, this had been on the docket about 4 years ago when we did a major tuck pointing, 3 to 4 years ago, major tuck pointing at the middle school. But we didn't do anything with it at the time. Middle school gym windows. I've got a proposal to take out the glass block, 10 windows, and we're looking at about $40,000. Helen Brand Glass came in with a really good price, and going with aluminum clad, insulated, tempered glass, 3 sections each on the gym.
What are the advantages of that?
Well, right now, there's glass block in there now, and a few of them are broken, but you can't replace them because they're all inset, so to take one out, you gotta take them all out. And so there's some that are broke, and they're just, it's 76 years old, and And then there's an operator window in the middle that has been replaced with some plexiglass, and that's all been scratched up and,
Okay.
but if we're gonna stay there, that's one of my recommendations, to do that, because even if we wouldn't stay there, and if that was gonna be used as a different space, that just would add to
Sure.
it, and bring in more natural daylight also.
Sure.
And are you looking at that out of the 06-07 budget or 07-08? Cause I don't think that
I don't
one's,
see it in the,
Oh, 809.
Where you at?
replace gym windows, I think you wanna move that out.
No, wait on that.
Right, well, on this, the next thing on my agenda is the 5-year plan, and that's where the B and G, we
Yep.
just start, I want us to start looking at this in, you know, prioritizing and seeing if maybe I've got a different priority than what somebody else might, so we can jockey things around. But this is kind of what I'm looking at here.
That's great, that's exactly what we asked you to do. It's kind of a long-range plan, that's great.
And I got prices on quite a few of them, so.
Any questions, comments? All right, thanks, Joe. Anything else before we move along to safety at the Levi Leonard parking lot? Anything else?
Nope.
Thanks, you guys moved a lot of snow in the last couple of weeks, so you did a good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations, you did a good job.
Fun doing it.
I'm wondering if I should grab that, site map real quick for this discussion.
For the parking lot thing, that'd be a good idea. Why don't we, while Heidi's out, just keep things moving along? Does anybody have any others they'd like to put on the agenda while Heidi's out? I'd like to put one other just for initial discussion, and that is the middle school parking and driving situation in front of the school, particularly during after-hours field trips, athletic events, when the buses come back late. I think that's an accident waiting to happen over there, and I'd like to do something about it. We've talked about it, I'd like to do something about it. So I could be thinking about what can we do about it. We'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Can you
So
be
more
here for the next meeting?
after school events, not during the day so much, just
Well,
after
when I've
hours?
seen the biggest problem is when the kids are gone, they come back on the buses, and it's dark or something, and their bus are parked in the middle of the street, and kids are running all over,
Yeah.
it's dangerous.
Okay.